The transport ship descended through the violet clouds of Talkeshan, and Captain Sarah Chen pressed her palm against the viewing port. Below, the sacred moon of the Korvath Empire gleamed like polished obsidian. Somewhere down there, in ancient ceremonial chambers carved from living stone, the future of 5 species would be decided. Captain Chen, the pilot's voice crackled. Docking in 10 minutes. Remember, no devices past the entrance. The Korvath don't mess around with their sacred protocols. Sarah patted her empty pockets. No communication device, no datapad, no emergency beacon. Just herself, her training, and a head full of hopes that this summit would actually work. 3 years of Cold War. Millions of lives hanging in balance. And all of it depended on representatives from 5 species sitting in rooms and talking like civilized beings. The landing was smooth. Sarah stepped onto the dark stone platform where Korvath guards stood like statues, their gray skin seeming to blend with the rock itself. Their leader, Commander Velthos, approached with the traditional greeting gesture, both hands open, showing no weapons. "Welcome, human delegate," Velthos said, his voice deep and resonant. "You understand the sacred rules?" "Yes, Commander. No communication devices. No weapons. No recording equipment. Only words spoken in honesty within the ceremonial chambers." "Good. The other delegates have arrived. Follow me." Sarah walked through corridors carved millions of years ago. The walls bore ancient symbols, telling stories of the Korvath's first peace treaties, their first contacts with other species, their long history of bringing enemies together on neutral ground. The air smelled of minerals and time. The ceremonial hall opened before her like a cathedral. 4 other delegates waited, each representing their species with perfect diplomatic posture. Ambassador Click-Tech of the Zerathi stood on 6 crystalline legs, his insectoid body gleaming under the soft light. His compound eyes reflected everything in fractured rainbows. Representative Shimmer of the Luminae floated slightly above the ground, her crystalline form pulsing with inner light. And Deep Current of the Threnody waited in his specialized water suit, his aquatic body visible through the clear membrane. Captain Chen, Click-Tech's voice buzzed with typical Zerathi precision. Punctual as always. Very human trait. Sarah smiled. Ambassador, I see everyone's ready to make history. Or repeat it, Deep Current's voice bubbled through his translator. Let us hope for the former. Quote, Commander Velthos raised his arms. Honored delegates, you will each be escorted to your meditation chambers. For the next 6 hours, you will reflect on the words you will speak tomorrow at the summit. This is our tradition: silence before dialogue, solitude before unity. The chambers are designed to give each species perfect environmental conditions. When the reflection period ends, we will gather for the opening ceremony. Sarah followed her Korvath escort through more corridors. The meditation chamber assigned to her was beautiful, a circular room with walls of smooth black stone, a simple sleeping mat, containers of water and simple food, and nothing else. The temperature was perfect for humans. The air smelled fresh. 6 hours, Captain Chen, her escort said. We will return when it is time. The door closed with a soft whisper of stone on stone. Sarah sat on the mat and closed her eyes, trying to center herself for the massive task ahead. Peace. Real peace. It seemed possible now, maybe for the first time. Then the floor shook. Sarah jumped to her feet as the tremor rolled through the chamber. The lights flickered, some kind of energy pulse. Her training kicked in immediately. Solar flare? Technical malfunction? Attack? The shaking stopped. The lights stabilized. But something felt wrong. Sarah moved to the door and pressed her hand against it. Hello? Is everything all right out there? No response. She pushed harder. The door didn't budge. Not locked, completely stuck. Hello, Commander Velthos. Can anyone hear me? Silence. Sarah's heart began to beat faster. She examined the door carefully. The stone had shifted during the tremor. Not much. Maybe a few centimeters, but enough to jam the door completely into its frame. She pushed with all her strength. Nothing. "This is Captain Sarah Chen. I need assistance. The door is stuck." Her voice echoed in the chamber and died. The walls were thick, designed to give each delegate complete privacy during meditation. Complete silence. Complete isolation. Sarah forced herself to breathe slowly. "Okay. Think. They'll realize something's wrong when they come to collect everyone. 6 hours. She could wait 6 hours. But a cold thought crept into her mind. What if the tremor, the energy pulse, had affected all the chambers? What if all 5 delegates were trapped separately, each one isolated and unable to communicate? What if the Korvath guards couldn't reach them quickly? She remembered reading about Talkeshan's sacred protocols. The ceremonial chambers were built in the most ancient, most sacred part of the moon's temple complex. Special tools were required to work on them. Tools that had to be brought from off-world because using modern equipment on sacred ground was forbidden. If the doors were jammed, rescue could take days. Days of 5 species delegates trapped alone, making assumptions, growing suspicious, wondering if this was an attack, or an insult, or a trap. Days for fear and anger to replace hope. Days for peace, to die before it even started. Sarah sat back against the wall and looked around her prison. Smooth, black stone. No windows. No devices. No way to communicate with anyone. She picked up a small piece of rock that had fallen during the tremor and tapped it absently against the wall. The sound echoed, clear and sharp. Sarah stopped, listened, tapped again. The echo carried differently than she expected, not just bouncing back, but traveling through the stone itself. These chambers were connected somehow. The rock itself conducting vibration. Sarah Chen smiled slowly. Her grandfather's voice came back to her from childhood summers, teaching a little girl an old military code using a flashlight. No devices, she whispered to herself. But they never said anything about rocks. Sarah sat cross-legged on the floor, the small rock warm in her palm. Her grandfather's weathered face filled her memory, summer evenings on the porch. Him teaching her Morse code with an old signal lamp. "Information wants to move, Sarah," he'd said. "Even through walls. Even through silence. You just need to find the right language." She tapped the rock against the wall. Tap, 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 tap. The sound vibrated through the stone, clearer than she'd expected. These ancient walls weren't designed to block sound completely. They were meant to carry the resonance of meditation, the harmony of peaceful thought. The Korvath builders never imagined someone would use that property to communicate. Sarah began with the simplest possible message. 1 tap, pause. 1 tap, pause. 1 tap. Then she changed the pattern. Tap tap, pause, tap tap, pause, tap tap. She was establishing the most basic code. 1 tap means something different from 2 taps. Yes and no. Agreement and disagreement. The foundation of all communication. For 5 minutes, she heard nothing but her own tapping and the echo dying in the stone. Sarah's hope began to fade. Maybe the chambers were too far apart. Maybe the others couldn't hear. Maybe, tap. Sarah's breath caught. That wasn't an echo. That was a response. Tap, tap. Someone was answering. Yes. Sarah laughed, pressing her hand against the wall. Yes, I hear you. She forced herself to calm down. Whoever was on the other side couldn't understand English. She had to build communication from nothing, piece by piece, using only sound. Sarah tapped once, then waited. The response came. 1 tap. She tapped twice. Waited. 2 taps came back. Perfect. They understood. 1 meant agreement, or yes. 2 meant disagreement or no. Now came the hard part, building a whole language from just that foundation. In the chamber 3 walls away, Ambassador Click-Tech stood perfectly still, his 6 legs planted firmly on the stone floor. His species communicated partially through rhythmic movements, tapping their legs in complex patterns. When the human's tapping first started, he dismissed it as stress behavior. But the pattern was too deliberate, too structured. This was intentional communication. Click-Tech's mind worked quickly. The human was trying to establish contact. The simple 1-tap, 2-tap pattern was clearly a basic code. Yes and no. Agreement and disagreement. He scraped his crystalline carapace against the wall, creating a sharp tap that would carry through the stone. If they could establish this basic level of communication, perhaps they could prevent whatever disaster was unfolding. Sarah began the next phase. She tapped out a rhythm. Tap, 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 tap. A pattern. Then she repeated it. And again. The response came, mimicking her rhythm perfectly. Good. They understood the concept of patterns. Now she needed to introduce letters. But how do you explain the alphabet to someone who might not even use letters? She started with the letter A in Morse code, dot dash, tap tap. She repeated it 10 times. Then she moved to B, dash dot dot dot. Top tap tap tap. This was going to take forever. But Sarah had an idea. She tapped out sauce, the most famous Morse code signal. Tap tap tap, top top tap, tap tap. The universal distress call. If anyone in the galaxy knew any human signal, it would be SOS. Silence for a moment. Then the response came. Tap, 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 tap. They recognized it. Or at least, they understood it meant something important. Sarah felt a surge of hope. She began systematically tapping out letters, trying to teach through repetition. A, B, C, over and over, creating patterns, building a vocabulary 1 letter at a time. In another chamber, Representative Shimmer of the Luminae felt the vibrations through her crystalline body. Her species didn't hear sound the way others did. They felt resonance, frequency, harmony. The human's tapping created waves that flowed through the stone and into her form. The patterns were beautiful in their simplicity. Shimmer began to understand. Short vibrations and long vibrations, combined in different ways. It was like music, but each song was unique. Each pattern meant something specific. She couldn't tap like the others, but she could create tone. Shimmer pressed against the wall and hummed, creating vibrations that matched the human's patterns. Short tones and long tones, mimicking the language she was learning. 2 hours passed. Sarah's hand ached from tapping. She'd managed to teach the basic concept of letters, and she could feel at least 3 different beings responding now. Each had a slightly different voice in how they created their taps. One sharp and precise, one deeper and resonant, one that felt more like pressure waves. She'd started with simple words. Yes, no, help, safe, wait. Then she tried something more complex. She tapped out HUMANSARAH. A long pause. Then responses came, one after another. Each different. They were introducing themselves. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Here they were, 5 species who'd been at war, separated by stone walls and unable to see each other. And they were having the most basic conversation possible. Names, identity, the foundation of understanding. She tapped again. ALLSAFEQUESTION. The first response came quickly. The second response. 1 tap. Safe. The third response took longer. Then, tap tap. Not safe. Sarah's stomach dropped. Someone was in danger. She tapped urgently. WHONOTSAFE. In his water-filled chamber, deep current of the Threnody created pressure waves against the wall. His oxygen-rich water was slowly depleting. The environmental system had been damaged in the tremor. He had perhaps 12 hours before the water became toxic. He responded to the human's question as best he could, using the letter patterns he'd learned. W, A, T, E, R, B. Sarah received the message and felt ice in her chest. Water bad. The Threnody was dying. She had to do more than just communicate. She had to coordinate. She had to teach these beings who couldn't see each other, who didn't speak each other's languages, how to work together to survive. Sarah picked up her rock and began tapping with renewed determination. No more simple words. It was time to teach them full sentences. Time to build a language that could save lives. The stone walls carried her message through the darkness. W, H, E, L, P, T, O, G, E, T, H, E, R. And from 3 different chambers, 3 different voices tapped back in perfect unison. Y, E, S. Sarah's fingers were raw from tapping. 4 hours had passed since the tremor, and she'd built something impossible, a network of communication linking 5 beings who should never have been able to talk to each other. But now came the real test. Could she coordinate a rescue operation using nothing but rocks and rhythm? She tapped out her message carefully. DEEP CURREN TWATERB AD NEE DHELP. Ambassador ClickTech received the message in his chamber. His compound eyes processed the pattern instantly. The Threnody delegate was in danger, water becoming toxic. But how could any of them help through solid stone walls? He tapped back. HOWHELPQUESTION. Sarah closed her eyes, thinking. She'd studied the layout of the ceremonial chambers during her briefing. Each chamber was designed for a specific species' needs. The Threnodies chamber would have water circulation systems, filtration, oxygen injection. If the system was damaged, there had to be manual controls somewhere. She tapped. DEEPCURRENT LOOK WALL SFIN DB UT TONS FINDVALVES. In his chamber, deep current moved slowly through the increasingly murky water. His gills strained to pull oxygen from the liquid. The human was. Right there, must be manual controls. The Korvoth were meticulous about safety protocols. He searched the walls with his sensory tentacles. There near the floor, a panel with ancient Korvath symbols. He couldn't read them, but he could feel 3 valve wheels beneath protective covers. Deep current created pressure waves. FOUNDTHREEVALVES WHICHTURNQUESTION. Sarah bit her lip. She didn't know the Threnody water systems. She didn't know which valve controlled what. If deep current turned the wrong one, he might drain all his water or flood his chamber completely. She needed help. She tapped. ANYONEK NOWW ATERSYSTE MSQ UESTION. Representative Shimmer felt the vibrations and thought carefully. The Luminae had studied Korvoth engineering for decades. Their crystalline minds remembered everything they observed. She had toured facilities like this before. She created her tone pattern response. LEFTVALVEFRESHWATER MIDLEVERAINRIGHTVEO Sarah felt a wave of relief. DEEPCURRENTTURNLEFTVALVESLOW TURNRIGHTVALVESLOW. Deep current reached for the left valve and turned it carefully. Fresh water began flowing into his chamber, diluting the toxic liquid. He turned the right valve, and bubbles of pure oxygen began rising through the water. His gills expanded with relief. WORKING, he tapped. THANKYOU. Sarah smiled, but her relief was short-lived. Another message came through, this time from Shimmer. COLD, VERYCOLD, CRACKING. Sarah's blood ran cold. The Luminae were crystalline beings. Cold temperatures could cause them to fracture, to literally break apart. Shimmer's chamber temperature must have dropped when the environmental systems failed. KLIKTECH. Sarah tapped. YOURCHAMBERTEMPERATUREQUESTION. Click Tech responded. WARM. TOO. WARM. ZIRAT. HILIKEHEAT. Sarah's mind raced. Heat rises. The chambers must be arranged vertically, or in a pattern where heat transfer was possible. If they could redirect heat from ClickTech's chamber somehow. DEEPCURENT. She tapped. WATERFLOWDIRECTIONQUESTION. Deep current examined his chamber. The fresh water was flowing in from the left wall and draining through the right. But there were other pipes, sealed emergency channels running to adjacent chambers for safety redundancy. SEEPIPESTOOTHERROOMS. He responded. Sarah's heart leaped. CANYOUPENPIPETOSHIMMERROOMQUESTION. Deep current found the emergency access panel. It required strength, but his species was built for deep ocean pressures. He pulled, and the panel came free. Inside were manual override wheels. He turned one, feeling resistance, then movement. In Shimmer's chamber, a grinding sound echoed. A pipe opening appeared in the wall, and warm water began trickling through, not flooding, just enough to raise the temperature of the stone around it. Shimmer pressed against the warming wall and felt her crystalline structure stabilize. The cracking stopped. WARMING. She tapped gratefully. THANK. YOUD. EEP. CU. RRENT. But then ClickTech sent an urgent message. AIRB. AD. SMELL. WRONG. TOXIC. MAYBE. Sarah fought down panic. The Zerathi had incredibly sensitive chemical detection. If ClickTech said the air was toxic, it was toxic. Gas leak from the damaged systems? Carbon dioxide buildup? SYMPTOMSQUESTION, she tapped. DIZYLEGSWEA. Carbon dioxide poisoning. ClickTech's chamber was filling with CO2. He needed fresh air. But where would it come from? Sarah thought frantically. Then an idea struck her. KLIKTECHFIN DSLEEPINGMAT FIND CEREMONIALSAND. ClickTech moved sluggishly, his thoughts growing foggy. He found the meditation mat, woven from natural fibers. He found the ceremonial sand in decorative bowls, fine mineral grains used in Korvath meditation rituals. FOUND, he tapped weakly. PILES. ANDN. EARD. OORC. RACK. COV. ERWI. THM. AT. MAKE. FILTER. ClickTech understood through the growing haze. A primitive air filter. The sand would trap some of the CO2. The mat would create a barrier. It wouldn't be perfect, but it might buy time. With trembling legs, he piled the sand, layered the mat, and created a small, filtered zone. He positioned himself there and felt the air still bad, but slightly better. BETTER, he tapped. STILLBAD, BUTBETTER. Sarah leaned against her wall, exhausted. She'd coordinated 3 emergency responses using nothing but tapped codes. Deep Current had fresh water and oxygen. Shimmer was warming. ClickTech had a makeshift air filter, but it wasn't enough. These were temporary solutions. They needed real rescue. And soon. HOWLON, GWEWAIT, QUESTION, Deep Current tapped. Sarah remembered the briefing about sacred protocols, special tools from off-world. The Korvath would be moving as fast as they could, but fast, in terms of sacred law, might mean days. She tapped honestly. May YBETWODAYS, May YBETHREE. Silence filled the chambers. 3 days. Could they survive? 3 days? With failing systems and temporary fixes? Then Shimmer tapped something that changed everything. We S U R V I V E W E T H E R Woo E NOT ALONE. And one by one, the others responded. ClickTech. NOTALONE. Deep Current. TOGE. THER. Sarah felt tears on her cheeks as she tapped. TOGE. THER. WESURVIVE. The walls of stone that separated them no longer seemed so thick. The hours crawled past. Sarah kept track of time by scratching marks on the wall with her rock. 18 hours since the tremor. The delegates had solved their immediate survival problems. But now came something harder waiting. Sarah tapped. EVERYONESTILLOKAY QUESTION. 3 responses came back. 1 tap each. Yes. Everyone was alive. Sarah settled against the wall, the rock still in her hand. Her mind drifted to the peace summit that was supposed to happen. All the formal speeches she'd prepared. All the careful diplomatic language. None of it seemed to matter now. On impulse, she tapped something different. SARAHFROMEARTH. GRANDFATHERTAUGHTMOR. SECODE. AEN AVYVE TERAN. SAIDINFORMATIONWANTSMOVEEVE SENTHROUGHWALS. She waited, unsure why she'd shared something so personal. Then ClickTech's response came. Slower than usual, but deliberate. KLIKTECHFRO, MZIRA, THPRIME, LE, ARN, RHYT, HMFROMMOT, HER, SHE, DAN, CER, SAI, DRHY, THMIS, LAN, GU, AGE, OF, SOUL. Sarah smiled. She tapped YOURMOT, HERS, OUND, SWISE, SHEWAS, SHEDIEDIN, WAR, HUMAN, BOMBING. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She stared at the wall, at those simple tapped letters that carried such heavy pain. ClickTech's mother had been killed by humans, and here he was, trapped in the dark, being kept alive by a human's instructions. She tapped slowly. IAMSORRY, SOVERY, A long pause. Then, NOTWHYFAULTIENDEVERYBODYFAULTTHETOENDIT. Shimmer's crystalline tones joined the conversation. LUMINAESTARTEDWAR, OURPRIDE, OURMISTAKE, WOO E THOUGH, THUMANSTOOY, OUNG TOODANGEROUS, Woo EWRONG. Deep Current added his message. THRENODYFEAREDHUMANS. YOUGROWSOFAST, TECHNOLOG, YSOQUICK, WE THOUG, HTYOU, WOU, LDC, ONQ, UERALL. Sarah felt the weight of their confessions. Here in the darkness, separated by stone, they were finally being honest with each other in ways that formal diplomacy never allowed. No pride, no politics, just truth. She tapped HUMANSFEAREDTOOYOUALLSOOLDSOWISE, Woo E FELTLI KECHILDREN WANTERESPECTBUTDIDNTKNOWHOWASK. ClickTech responded, RESPECTNOTGIVENEARNED, EOUERANIGITNOW HOWQUESTION. Sarah tapped. YOUKEEPUS, ALIVE, WEOUNOTG, IVEUP, YOUFINDWAYTALK, WHENNO, WAYE, XIST, VER, YHUMAN. Shimmer added. HUMANSAL, WAY, SFIND, WAY. SOMETIMESGOOD, SOMETIMESBAD, BUTALWAYSFINDWAY, THATY, OURSTRENGTH. The conversation continued for hours. They talked about their worlds, their fears, their hopes. ClickTech described Zerathi crystal gardens, where light danced through living minerals. Shimmer shared harmonic patterns that, when tapped on stone, became luminae lullabies. Deep Current painted word pictures of his ocean home, where colors existed that had no names in other languages. Sarah told them about Earth's diversity, thousands of cultures, hundreds of languages, billions of people who somehow found ways to coexist despite their differences. NOTPERFECT, she tapped honestly. STILLFIGHT, STILLMIS, UNDER, STAND, BUT, KEEP, TRYING. Then the conversation turned to the peace talks. What they would say tomorrow, if there was a tomorrow. ClickTech tapped. O L D T R E A T Y N O T W O R K TOOMUCH FOCUS TERITORY NEED FOC USUND ERST AND ING. Deep Current agreed. TRADEROUTE SNOT PROBLEM FERISPROBLEMHOWSTOPFEARQUESTION. Shimmer offered. EXCHANGEPROGRAMS EOUNGLUMINAELEA RNON HUMAN WORLDS HUMANYOUTHLEARNONOURWORLD. Sarah's mind raced. They were actually negotiating. Right here, through tapped codes on stone walls. They were building the framework for real peace. She tapped JOINTSCIENCEPROJECTS WORKTOGETHERONBIGPROBLEMS. ClickTech added CULTURA LAM BASSADORS NOT JUST DIPLOMA TSA RTIST STEACHERS. Deep Current suggested EMERGENCYRESPONSETEAMS ALLS PECIES TOG ETHER HELPAN YON ENEED HELP. They continued building their treaty, point by point, through the simple language of taps and pauses. No lawyers, no political advisors. Just 5 beings who understood that survival meant cooperation. Sarah realized something profound. In formal negotiations, they would have spent weeks arguing over every word, every clause, every implication. But here, with only the most basic communication possible, they focused on what actually mattered: trust, understanding, shared purpose. DOINGIT, she tapped. DOIMAKING, PEACE, Shimmer responded. NOTJUSTPEACE, MAKINGFRIENDSHIP. The word hung in the stone corridors. Friendship. Sarah thought about it. She'd never seen Click-Tech's face. Didn't know what color Deep Current's skin was. Couldn't describe Shimmer's crystalline form. But she knew their hearts. She knew their fears and hopes. She knew they were good beings, trying to do right. YES, she tapped. FRIENDS. 3 responses came back, perfect and clear. FRIENDS. 28 hours after the tremor, Sarah heard sounds from beyond her door. Voices. Equipment. The Korvath rescue team had finally arrived with the proper tools. She tapped urgently. RESCU, ECOMING, SAVEO, RMESSAGES, SAVEWALS. Click-Tech understood immediately. YES, THI, SISHISTORY, THISISP, ROOF, THISIS. Stone ground against stone. Light flooded Sarah's chamber. Commander Velthos stood in the doorway, his face showing relief and concern. Captain Chen, are you injured? Sarah stood on shaky legs, still clutching her rock. I'm fine, Commander. But you need to preserve these chambers exactly as they are. Every mark, on every wall. It's all evidence. Evidence of what? Sarah smiled tiredly. Evidence that peace is possible. Even through walls. Even in the dark. Even with nothing but stones and hope. 6 months later, Sarah stood on the platform at Talkeshan once again. But this time, the sacred moon was filled with beings from across the galaxy. News crews, diplomats, families, all gathered to witness history. The ceremonial chambers had been transformed into a memorial. Transparent walls now allowed visitors to see inside, but the original stone walls remained untouched. Every tap mark, every scratch, every message preserved exactly as it had been left. Sarah walked through the corridor with her 3 friends beside her. Click-Tech's crystalline legs clicked rhythmically on the floor. Shimmer floated gracefully, her inner light pulsing with calm contentment. Deep Current moved in his mobile water suit, his tentacles gesturing expressively as he spoke. Still cannot believe they made museum out of our prison, Deep Current said, his translator rendering his bubbling speech into standard language. It was never a prison. Shimmer's harmonic voice resonated. It was a classroom. We learned more in those chambers than we ever did in formal education. They stopped before Sarah's chamber. Inside, the walls were covered with tap marks. Visitors pressed audio devices against the transparent barrier, and the marks came alive with sound: tap, 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 tap. The rhythm of SOS. The beginning of everything. A young human child pointed at the wall. Mommy, what's that pattern? Her mother knelt down. That's Morse code, sweetie. It's how Captain Chen talked to her friends when they were trapped. 1 tap means yes. 2 taps means no. And all those other patterns? They're letters. The child stared in wonder. She taught them a whole language with just rocks? She did. And now kids all over the galaxy are learning it too. Sarah smiled. It was true. Morse code had become part of the standard galactic education curriculum, not as a human system, but as a universal backup communication method. Simple, effective, requiring nothing but something to tap and the patience to learn. The ceremony began in the central hall. Commander Velthos stood at the podium, his deep voice carrying through the assembled crowd. 6 months ago, a failure in our systems trapped 5 delegates in separate chambers. We thought we had created a diplomatic disaster. Instead, we witnessed the birth of a new era. He gestured to the 4 delegates. These beings proved that communication requires no common language, no advanced technology, no shared culture. It requires only the determination to be heard and the patience to listen. The crowd applauded, but Velthos held up his hand for silence. Today, we sign the Treaty of Stone Walls. But first, we honor the method that made it possible. Sarah walked to the podium. In her hand, she held the same small rock she'd used in the chamber, smooth, dark, unremarkable. But this simple stone had saved 5 lives and changed galactic history. She didn't speak. Instead, she tapped the rock against the podium's stone surface. Tap, 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 tap. The pattern echoed through the hall. THANKYOU. Across the plaza, Click-Tech stepped forward. He scraped his carapace against a ceremonial stone pillar, creating the same pattern. Thank you. Shimmer floated to another pillar and hummed against it, her crystalline body creating perfect, resonant tones that matched the pattern. Thank you. Deep Current pressed his water suit against a third pillar, creating pressure waves that became taps. Thank you. Then, something beautiful happened. Throughout the crowd, beings began tapping the pattern. Humans, Zerathi, Luminae, Threnody, Korvath, and dozens of other species. Thousands of beings creating the same simple message in perfect unity. Thank you. The sound built like a wave, echoing off the ancient stone structures of Talkeshan. It wasn't just communication anymore. It was music. It was harmony. It was proof that difference didn't mean division. When the echoes faded, Sarah spoke. My grandfather taught me that information wants to move, even through walls. But he taught me something else too. He said the best messages aren't the complicated ones. The best messages are simple enough that anyone can understand them, and important enough that everyone wants to share them. She held up the rock. This is our message. When barriers separate us, we don't accept silence. We find a way to speak. When we can't see each other, we learn to listen. When we don't share a language, we build one together. One tap at a time. One letter at a time. One connection at a time. The Treaty of Stone Walls was signed that day. It included provisions none of the delegates had brought to the summit. Exchange programs, joint research projects, cultural ambassador initiatives, emergency response teams composed of all 5 species. But most importantly, it included the Chen Protocol, a requirement that all diplomatic facilities maintain simple, technology-free backup communication methods. The galactic symbol for peace changed too. Once, it had been a complex design incorporating elements from many cultures. Now, it was simpler, a stone with tap marks radiating outward. One symbol, many interpretations, universal meaning. Sarah's grandfather's old Navy signal lamp was placed in the Galactic Museum of Peace on Earth. The placard read, Lieutenant Commander James Chen's signal lamp, used to teach Morse code. To his granddaughter, Sarah. That childhood lesson became the foundation for the Chen Protocol and the Treaty of Stone Walls. Sometimes the most advanced solutions come from the simplest tools. Beside it hung a holographic display showing the chamber walls with all their tap marks. Visitors could touch different marks and hear the messages they represented. Children spent hours there, learning the patterns, creating their own messages, understanding that communication was both an art and a science. A year later, Sarah received a message from a remote mining colony. Workers from 6 different species had been trapped in a collapse. Using the Chen protocol, they'd coordinated their rescue, kept each other alive, and emerged with not a single casualty. The message ended simply, "Thank you for teaching us to tap through walls." Similar stories came from across the galaxy. Scientists trapped in failing labs, explorers lost in caves, refugees separated by language barriers, all of them using simple taps to bridge impossible distances. Sarah kept her rock on her desk. Sometimes visitors asked to see it, expecting something special. They were always surprised by how ordinary it looked. "That's the point," Sarah would tell them. "The most powerful tools are the ones anyone can use. You don't need special equipment to connect with someone. You don't need advanced training to show you care. You just need a rock, a rhythm, and the refusal to let walls keep you silent." On Talkeshan, the memorial remained open every day. Beings came from across the galaxy to walk through those chambers, to see those walls, to understand that 5 species who'd been at war had found friendship in darkness. And every evening, as the violet sun set over the sacred moon, a simple rhythm echoed through the stone corridors. Visitors tapping farewell messages, children learning patterns, friends separated by distance saying goodnight. Tap, 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 tap. The sound of connection. The language of hope. The proof that no wall is thick enough to stop beings who truly want to understand each other. The walls that once divided had become monuments to unity, and the simple tap of stone on stone had become the heartbeat of peace.